people think that leadership is something you're just born with or that you know how to do intuitively. And it's just factually not true. Leadership is the most important thing on the battlefield in business and life. The investment that you make, right? So this is the thing that's very interesting. You are investing in your leaders, and you've been investing in your leaders. When I got back from my last deployment, when I was in Ramadi, came back and took over the West Coast training, and I was just so focused. Charles focused on the shooters, focused on making sure that the young guys understood that as SEALs, they needed to be thinking shooters, absolutely. But I really, really was focused on the leadership and making sure that the leaders understood how to lead. And it was one of the things that really opened my eyes is on that deployment, and really on my previous deployments through my whole career, the Army and the Marine Corps had absolutely professionalized and doctrinalized how they trained leaders. So the Army would go to this the company career course, the career course they call it, which is a company level commander. And this was like a 6-month or a year-long school that these guys would get trained on how to lead their troops. And they have that at every level, enlisted and officer, in the Army and in the Marine Corps. And in the SEAL teams, there was almost nothing. There was a little junior officer training course that was, Leif ended up taking it over. When he took it over, it was, hey, this is where you're going to learn how to write evaluations. You're going to learn a little bit about writing Navy message traffic. It was, and you'd get some debriefs on some stuff, but you weren't going to actually learn any principles of leadership. And it was unbelievable that this was taking place. And I remember as I started to try and push this hard, I started going up my chain of command. And one of the things that I bring up the chain of command was Hamburger University. And Hamburger University, if you don't know, it's up in, I think it's in Schaumburg, Illinois. But if you're going to run a McDonald's, you've got to go to this course. And it's like a 6-month school that you go to. And so I remember sitting down with my boss and saying, hey, have you heard of Hamburger University? He said, no, what's that? I said, it's if you're going to run a freaking McDonald's, you're going to go to a 6-month training course on how to lead a McDonald's where you flip burgers and fry French fries. And we've got guys that are going to go out and oversee combat operations and have lives at risk. And we give them, they don't go to any school. This is a problem. And part of the problem is because we're a victim of our own success. So, hey, hey, Jocko, you just went on deployment. You came back. You did a good job. You were in charge. Okay, so what we're doing is working. And, hey, this other guy, Leif, you did good. You got mentored and you got trained up. So that what we're doing, the on-the-job training works. And it does work sometimes. But it also fails sometimes. And so now we find this in every industry. Hey, we got Echo Charles here. He's a good salesman. In fact, he's our best salesman. Let's put him in charge of sales. Well, what does he know about leadership? He knows how to sell stuff. He doesn't know anything about leading. Oh, we got Echo Charles here. He's our best mechanic. Okay, great. What are we going to do? Let's put him in charge of all the mechanics. He's good at turning a wrench. He's not good at leadership. And we just throw him in there. And for some reason, people think that leadership is something you're just born with or that you know how to do intuitively. And it's just factually not true. So what we encourage and what you're actually doing is, oh, Echo, you're the best mechanic. We're going to take you and we're going to elevate you into a leadership position and we're going to train you how to lead, just like at one point we trained you on how to turn wrenches and repair this carburetor. We're going to train you the same way. And you've put a massive amount of investment into your leadership. And one of the earlier questions, when we started Echelon Front, I get asked, well, how are we going to know if this works? What are the metrics to know if this succeeds? And I still to this day, I just had this conversation the other day. Whatever metric you're running at your company that means you are successful. So whether you're trying to cut the cost to produce or you're trying to improve your time to produce or you're trying to grow or whatever metric you're looking at, if we do our job training your leaders, that metric, all those metrics that you're trying to improve on, they are all going to improve. That's what's going to happen. And that's where you say, hey, look, we actually we do some of these soft skill surveys now. And, what do you think of your leadership? And that's good too. That's good feedback. It's good feedback to say, hey, the leadership has a better relationship with the troops. That's great. The troops think the leadership is more in tune with what they're thinking and what they're saying. Those are great things to do as well. But for me, where the rubber meets the road is, hey, we're trying to produce this widget in this amount of time, and now we're doing it. We're cutting our costs. We're getting it out. Our salespeople are doing better. That's how we measure leadership success, is what is the success of the company. So as you invest, you get that ROI, and that's what I love about seeing the success of your company and some of the other companies that we work with, that we get to see this incredible growth. And I started this whole thing off saying leadership is the most important thing on the battlefield in business and life. And to look at a company like yours where you are proving how that works and how important it is and how you can grow things and how you can have 4,200 employees. And I'd love to, if you were fishing for a compliment, say, no, but Matt, it all starts with you. Hey, it does. I'll give you a compliment. It does start with you. But let's face it. You've got employees that haven't seen you in 3 months. You've got someone 100%. Right now making a decision in a basement,
100%,
on something that's happening, and that individual is making the right decision as a leader on the front lines. He's empowered to do that, and you couldn't see that if your life depended on it. You couldn't help that person make that decision, except for the fact that you already have helped them. Because you trained them as a leader, they understand the culture, they understand the mission of the company, and when you do that, it allows you to drive a company forward with people at every level leading, making the right decisions, and moving in the same direction strategically.
It's the only way to scale, right? So you just gave that great example. We have foreman right now. This is a foreman right now, probably anywhere in the country, right? So say he's in Kansas City. And the footer's not where he needs to be, and he's laying down what he needs to lay down. He's thinking, wow, shit, what I got to do here? He's been empowered. He knows that the number one objective, take care of the customer. If it costs a few dollars more, no factor. If it costs a couple $100 more, no factor. If it costs like $1,000, I'm going to probably call my soup to make sure it's cool, but that soup's going to know, no factor. Go, serve the customer, okay? But that mindset is part of our culture, and that comes from the investment that you make in a business. We see it all the time when we buy businesses. This old, and I call it lazy. The notion of on-the-job training is lazy. It's lazy. If you say to yourself, I want to be world-class, I want to be good, you don't stick just a guy with a guy and say, go learn from Jocko because he's really good at this. That's lazy. Small businesses do that don't want to grow. If you want to take an institutional approach to changing an industry and being the best possible business you can possibly be, it has to be part of who you are. And that takes time, investment, and energy. And our KPIs at Groundworks, they've exploded over the last 4 years, 5 years. A lot of factors. One key factor is investing in leadership training. You can't be a leader in our company unless you go through it. Every employee gets a book. I mean, you can't get away from it. Now, do they read it? I don't know. But you can't be a leader and a manager. You can't be a manager. You can be a leader without being a manager. You can't be a manager at Groundworks without going through a course. And that's just who we are. Now, as you know, human beings are human beings, and some people take it better than others. But on average, I think our culture is such that if you don't live that way, you're kind of weeded out. Because there's a complete alignment on what we are doing as a business. Not just our mission of building a great world-class home services company, but there's a culture internally of we're going to do it the right way. We're going to care about the men and women that work here. We call it walking in the light and living with the servant's heart. And yes, we serve the customer. But my leaders, we serve each other. And if the overall goal is to build a great business where we all win, and where we're literally making millionaires out of men and women that never have gone to college, we are serving one another.
Yeah.
And that's the powerful thing. I got to share this one bit with you. So fast forward, I'm running out of money. So this was in 19. Sarah and I, we put everything we had in this business. I sold Petrochem, that company I first started with, to put it back into Groundwork. So I sold it to a big-time private equity firm out in San Francisco. Huge return for me and the missus. I can't say it publicly, but it's way north of 5 times, over 20. Shipyard staffing. I have a great partner that his name is Jack Anthony that I partnered up with to run that business for me. He absolutely crushed it for us. Sold that to of all funds, the Founders Fund, the most legitimate VC firm in the world, probably Peter Thiel and his team, and all the great investments. Some knuckle dragger from Ocean View sold his company to Peter Thiel, the guy that SpaceX and PayPal, all those things, right? He started a company called WorkRise. They are in the oil and gas industry. They bought our little platform to enter the marine industry and defense industry. Like, it's surreal. Only in America, right? Yeah. So we took every penny that we had from those things, plotted right back in the groundworks, but still wasn't enough. So in 19, we decided. Now I had outside investors. I had some friends and family, like folks that I've seen and been friends with. No institutional, no big money guys. We wanted to continue this mission, and I had worked for 4 or 5 years developing relationships of companies to buy, some big ones. And so I finally had to bite the bullet and bring on a financial partner. So we are fortunate enough. I have a really good friend that is a great investment banker, John Nooner, for home services. And I literally saw him on a sunrise service on Easter. You love this. So he don't live in VB, but, I have this little guy, Logan, and, we can't take him to church on Easter Sunday because he's a madman. He'll run around. So Sarah's like, hey, let's go to this sunrise service. Well, he'll just run off and surf. Or whatever he does, we're still going to be able to go to church, right? So he's running around, and we're at this sunrise service. And I look behind me, there's this guy, John Nooner, who I hadn't seen since college, by the way. I was his RA. One of the other jobs I had in college, I was an RA. It's terrible. Don't judge. It's not a good gig. But there's this guy, John Nooner. He said, hey, Malone, I've been following your company. So this was April of 19. And I say this is great timing because we need a financial partner. So we talked to 13 private equity firms, some of the greatest brands in the world, 13 offers, which, again, that's surreal, right? You build a company and you know the names of all these firms, right? So it's kind of like, whoa, it's pretty exciting. We took it down to 3 and ultimately picked 1. We picked a group called Cortec out of New York. They have a guy that is our chairman, a guy named David Schnadig, who is legitimate savage. So he's more aggressive than me. But they had great experience with Yeti. So they built Yeti. They were the private equity firm behind Yeti. They took that thing from whatever, 40 million to $1 billion, and it's public now. But they're really good at marketing. And I wanted to transform my business into a consumer marketing company. Yes, we do construction. Yes, I have the horsepower behind the scenes. There are men and women that do it with their hands. But how we win in the marketplace with consumers is being differentiated. So that it's the Amazon approach. When I'm coming to your house, you say you're going to get a text. It's going to show where my car is. It's going to say, hey, this guy's going to show up. Here's what he looks like. So you want to leverage technology and really leverage how we attack the consumer side of our business. And I thought they were good at that. And so we partnered up with them. And then, COVID hit, right? So imagine, big investment, COVID, everyone is scared at this time, right? Thankfully at Groundworks, we were a essential business, which I love. So we have these shirts that we gave out called the Essentials. But I remember I had to get lawyers to give letters to every driver. So as we went down the road, if they got stopped, they could put out this letter and say, look, we're essential. So we went to work. Yeah. And, some parts of the country took COVID a lot different. I'll tell you this, my guys, was there COVID? We just got after it. Now, the only thing we did cancel was the kickoff, of course, which you're part of that. But we just got after it. And which even crazier, so this group, Cortec, I had lined up 4 or 5 big deals, big companies to buy. And, what we haven't talked about is, so the founders that I bought these companies, I call them the founders, made up of some of the best men and women in the country. We've been very lucky. Our strategy is we buy the best brand in a given state. We expand from there, opening new offices. And as you look at the map today, we're getting there. We're kind of really Southeast, Midwest, Mid-Atlantic. We're not West Coast. We're not Texas yet. We're not Pacific Northeast or New England. But we're a multi-billion-dollar business just in our current footprint.